Hello and welcome to today's video. So this is going to be the first of a brand new series where I kick off cleaning all my vintage books. Now, I don't really know how many I've got, but it's over 10,000 sort of paperbacks predominantly and vintage books. And some of them I've had for many, many years, literally decades. Others I've picked up in the last few years. And books that I've picked up more recently, I have sort of put through a bit of a cleaning process, which I've sort of chronicled on my other YouTube channel, and they are all looking absolutely fine. But stuff that I've had for years and sometimes decades perhaps has not had such care and attention put to it, and that is why I thought, well, I'll do a brand new series and I'll launch it on my new channel here, and it'll just be book cleaning and repairs. And that's what this is today. This is the very first one of the first of my Pan books. So I'm going to do like a Pan book video a month. I'll do like a vintage Penguin book video a month, and then I'll mix it up with some other things as well, and some stuff that I've done previously on my other channel, which I'm going to sort of re-edit and try and get them looking a little bit better than they originally were when they first went out. So we're going to start off with this one. So the first few Pan books in actual fact were hardback, they weren't paperback. So I've got a couple here. Now these first two, it's like a slight variation on the same book. They've both been put in plastic sleeves that I'm not a massive fan of, to be honest. So I think what I'm going to do, I'll take these wrappers off. Yeah, they've got these white backed sort of sleeves, and I really don't like those at all. So I'm going to actually slide this out of here. So basically, when Pan books were formed at the tail end of the 1940s, there was still paper rationing in the UK. So consequently, they couldn't really have a paper allocation to launch a brand new book imprint to compete with, say, the likes of Penguin. So what they did, they printed the books in France and then shipped them over to the UK. Here we go. There we are. That's probably never been out of there in many, many years. So I'm quite glad to see the back of that. Yeah, and they were sort of shipped down the Seine into London and distributed over the UK that way. So that's not bad. That one's got that little hole in the spine there, but it's okay. And the main thing is, how's the actual book? Well, it's got some writing there, but that's in pen, so there's nothing I can really do about that. But the rest of it's okay. There's no other little markings or anything like that. So what I'll do with each sort of book, when we get to the paperbacks in a minute, I'll be able to do a few of these at a time. But on these hardbacks, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'll start showing you some of my tools of the trade, as it were. So one thing that I use a lot of is this little soft used toothbrush. There's not a lot to it, so I'm sure you've got an old toothbrush lying around, and this is just really good to get into like all the nooks and crannies. So the bit near the spine here is called the rails, and often dirt and dust, even with a book that's been in a dust jacket like that one, can accumulate. So this book is dating from 1945. So in that time, it's obviously picked up a bit of wear. Now, if you look along the top edge there, it may not be that visible, but believe me, when you look at it closely, there is a lot of dust and dirt in there. So what I will do, because this is a hardback, I'll just get my toothbrush in here. I don't know if you saw it there, but there was a little wisp, it looked like smoke, but it was dust. This has been on a shelf for many, many years. Now, I'll pop this into the video now, but I took a photo of the initial run of Pan books that we're going to be cleaning over the first couple of videos or so, and that was them in situ in my collection on top of a bookcase. The first ones, they're all in numerical order, and these original Pan titles were numbered, and I have actually got a full set of them, which is quite nice. So sometimes with the hardback, I'll just put it just on the inside cover as well. Just run my little toothbrush down through it, because that's where dust and dirt can collect, also around the little edges here. like that, where it's possibly been laid down, over time, dust would settle along that little edge there, like that. This one's actually not too bad, although spotting it, you can see there's some dust has settled there over the years. So another piece I use quite a bit is this sort of soft duster, and this is ideal for these sorts of jobs. There we are. That's what it just took a little bit of a wipe, and that's actually about as good as it's going to get. Now, one thing I am going to do as we go along is any books that need upgrading, I'm going to be making a little mental note of, and when I go back over and edit this video, I'll be able to update my list of ones which I'm looking for slightly better copies of. But to be honest, on these Pan books, now that I've licked the set of these early ones, I'm concentrating more on the later titles now, the 50s and 60s ones. So here's another copy of this one, and I believe this is a slight variant. You can see it's got a more buff spine rather than the yellow one, and this one has got orange boards, whereas the other one there had red boards. So it is just a variation, exactly the same book. And once again, this is in a rather, well, I wouldn't call it amateur, but it's just not in a very nice sleeve. It's not a sort of sleeve protector that I want to keep. So I'm going to take it out, because in some of my future videos I will be protecting dust wrappers in really nice plastic wrap, which I shall do to these early ones when we get round to that. So let's just slip that out there. There we are. Once again, it's a little bit of fading on the spine, but that's nothing that you wouldn't expect from a book of this sort of age. And I'm, more than happy to have that particular copy in here. Now let's have a look here and see how this one's looking, sort of dirtiness-wise. It's not, on the face of it, it's all right. It feels a lot glossier than the other one, and I see there's like a little sort of fingerprint or something there. Now I reckon we'll be able to get that off in a minute. Inside then, doesn't appear to be any, oh look, it's a bit of pencil there, so we'll get that out in a sec as well. Else, nice bright pages. So I think we'll get that bit of rubbing out first. Now I use this one, it's a Pentel high polymer eraser, and almost all the things that you see on the channel today are things that you can pick up, very cheaply online or in a pound shop. This little rubber here is not too expensive. I bought a couple at the time. They're like 2 for £1, something like that. And they're very, very soft. And I never, when I rub out a pencil mark, I try and go as gently as possible, like so, because I don't want to cause any damage to the book. So that's got that pencil mark out, but there's also lots of other dirt in the rails, which we didn't have in the other one there. And in actual fact, it's part of the binding, so there's nothing we can really do about that. That's okay. That's okay. And then the last thing I do with this one, once again like the other one, I'm going to just run the toothbrush along the top edge here. You can see the difference there. The top edge is quite tanned compared to the bottom edge, which has never sort of been exposed. It's always been stood up like that, I guess. But that's come up not too bad. Now the only other thing was this that little mark on the back there. Now I think I can get away with a tiny bit of polish on that, and that little black sort of mark is going to come up. So I'm just going to go and grab the polish now. So I use Mr. Sheen, which is just like a little furniture polish that you can get here in the UK. I think you can get it abroad, but you might need to just sort of experiment with a few different brands, just to, on a cheap book, just to see how you get on. So basically I've just sprayed a little bit onto the corner there I don't want to put too much on because I don't want to damage the book, but that's just enough, I think. And if I give this a little polish, let's see if it really takes that sort of black mark off. Well, it's not come off as quickly as I would like, to be honest. I thought that would probably do it, but it's actually a bit more stubborn than that, and I don't really want to go overboard and, you know, get the boards wet or anything. So it's come up a little bit, but when you look at it, it's sort of almost ingrained into the actual texture of the hardback, and I really don't want to wreck this, you know, what is in actual fact a really nice copy. So I'm not going to go OTT on that. It's faded it a little, but I'm just going to leave it at that and slide it back into its slightly delicate dust wrapper here. As I said, it's just a later printing. Some of these early Pan books, and Penguin were the same. They've got a few different variations, even though they say they're the same prints, and that it's not always the case. And this, I believe, was a slightly later one than that first one that we've seen. But that's okay. Now this next one, this is quite a rarity, and I was able to get this from a friend of mine called Tim, who runs a dedicated Pan Books website called ticket.net. Well, that's at least where you can find it. And I forget the exact story behind this one. It's what did he say about it? I don't know, but it's much scarcer than you might think. I don't think it's like a promotional one. I think it's just one which, it was a later book which just got published in hardback as like a one-off, basically. So that's why it's with my other little hardbacks here. So this is a copy that Tim actually gave me for free, because he is a good chap. And what I'll do then, I'll just, once again, because these are all different sort of sizes, let's get this top edge off here. Actually, that's visibly made a difference, isn't it? Now, on particularly bad books, you don't want to be doing this inside because you'll end up breathing in some rather awful dust mites and stuff, I would think, or dust particles, not dust mites. So let's do the inside rails again, which I like to do in a hardback. And there's a little bit of dust that collected in there. You can sort of see the first signs of a little bit of spotting, but nothing too serious. Looks like for Loyan or Lynn, Christmas 1949. So that's the larger format Pan hardbacks done. And then we got a few of their original paperbacks. So Pan are obviously known as a paperback publisher, not really a hardback publisher. This little emblem here was designed by Mervyn Peake, who went on to write the Gormagast trilogy. Now these thankfully I've got 3 of these and they're uniform size, so they shouldn't take anything like as much work. That one's absolutely fine. And I'm just checking these to make sure there's no pencil marks inside. Look at this, so there you go. So this is one I've obviously had for many years because it's got a big 10p inside. And this is the reason I'm going through my books systematically, book by book, shelf by shelf, publisher by publisher, because I don't want my books to have horrible 10p's inside. As much as I used to like to remind me of how much I paid for it. Nowadays I want my books looking as good as possible. So I'm just using my soft rubber again to get that little 10p out. It's almost there. At least sometimes, depending on how hard the person who put the price in originally sort of pressed on the book, it can sometimes leave a little indentation, as you can imagine. Also, someone's like rubbed or scraped the little price off in the corner there, but c'est la vie, that looks better, doesn't it? That's all right. And there's a third one in this format. This is the last one. This is great. This is Tales of the Supernatural. It's actually a little bit smaller than the other two, so they really were struggling to get a uniform size, weren't they, Pan, at this period in their history? But that's fine. That's got no little marks on. So I think yeah, what we can do, if I turn them up like that, then the top edges are all the same size. Now, you can see that there are different shades of brown and dirt on these. So what I'm going to do, it'll be quite delicate, but that one that was 10p has never had this done to it before. And the other ones, well, I don't really know, but it's going to lift a bit of the dirt. Sometimes, of course, it's invisible, and you can't see where the dirt is hiding. But pinching them all together like this makes them nice and easy to clean up. Obviously, they weren't printed on the greatest of papers. They had to use whatever was around, so unlike the penguins, which are quite uniform of this period, the pans are a bit more haphazard, like a lot of the publishers in the UK. So that was their 3 little paperbacks. Now we've got 2 more little hardbacks, and then we're into the proper pan paperbacks that you all know and love. And that's these then. So we've got A Christmas Carol, and by Dickens, of course, and Scenes of London Life. Now both of these are fairly scarce. A Christmas Carol, I did have multiple copies of it in the end, but it took me a while to get a really nice one. And even this, although it's not great, it's still by far the best one I've ever owned, and I must have owned about 6 now. So very, very thin dust wrapper, and you can see why this is easily lost. So when we come back to do the dust wrappers on my paperbacks, that's one I'm definitely going to be protecting in a bit of plastic. The book itself, though, doesn't seem too bad. Possibly some dust along the top. Need to get in the rails here, so let's do that now. Look at that. There's a little spot right there in the rails, which has come up now. Let's see what the back one's like. That's okay. I'll just get my toothbrush in. This one isn't too bad. It's got that sort of dedication inside, but this was just a little gift book that Pan published. It's funny, around this time, Penguin also published A Christmas Carol as a King Penguin book, also as a little hardback. And it was quite a scarce book, and it was the last King Penguin I needed to get. Or the next to last King Penguin I needed for my set. There we are, trying to read what the dedication says. I think it says, "To my good friend Jack, Christmas 1975. Looks like somebody and Willie." There you go. Jack didn't decide to keep hold of it. But nice little book, that one. It goes for about, I think a really nice one in a wrapper like this is probably about £25, something like that, for a nice one. Might be a little bit more if you get lucky. I did sell a lot. I've still got over 600 early Pan books to get shot of, which are doubles. So if you are after any particular ones that are in the early numbered and the early G's and X's, do let me know, because I've got about 6 boxes full of them, of first editions, waiting to be sorted out. Now, this is interesting. So this is another one in a wrapper. Now the wrapper is pink. Now pinks and reds are predominantly the colours which fade once they've been put into sunlight, and this wrapper is no exception. However, once again, it's the best one I've had through my hands. The book itself doesn't seem too bad. It's a little bit dirtier than I would perhaps like. It's a little bit grubby on the boards, but there's not really a great deal I can do about that. Now there's a price in there, $7.99, first edition it says. So I'm going to want to rub that one out. But once again, you see the little bits of dirt and grit in the rails here, so that's pretty bad, this back cover. Yeah, not too bad, but not great, but not too bad. And let's get this price out. So this was probably done fairly in the last sort of 10 to 20 years, I would imagine. So I don't think it'll be too difficult to get out. And what I'll try and do with these videos, I'll try and do like an hour of me cleaning each time we do a video, and we'll just work my way through the collection that way. I think because I've got my other channel, which is very, very busy, but people do like these cleaning videos. That's why I thought I'd put them on their sort of their own channel going forward. But my other channel's sort of my main one, so I do need to keep an eye on that. And at the moment, I'm still in full-time employment, so I don't have endless days where I can just devote to cleaning my books, sadly, and making videos as much as I would like to. But I'll do as many as I can, and I have committed to doing one video a week on this channel, so you will have a guaranteed video every single week. Now, looking at the back cover here, there's a little tick there, which I'm going to have a try at getting off with my rubber. This one here I'm not so sure about because it's a blodge of something, a blob. So let's try the tick first of all, because this should be, if it's going to come off, it should come off fairly easily. It may be pen, of course, in which case we've had it. No, I think we might be alright. I'm just going to do it ever so softly. Yeah, it's coming off, Go on. When I clean my books, occasionally I make a mistake and it actually causes more harm than good, but those instances are rare. And if you are into cleaning your own collection, I do hope that, don't get too cross if you make a mistake, because it's a learning curve. And look, that little tick has come off. It's left a little, you could sort of see where it was because it's cleaned up the boards around it. All this sort of darkness and greying, that's just sort of dirt off people's fingers, that's what's caused that over the years. Now this splodge here, I don't know what it is. It could be a bit of food or something like that. It's very, very difficult to tell. And it's such a delicate bit of paper, I don't want to take a risk of getting this wet because it will just wreck it. So my little mantra with these is, if in doubt, leave it out, because it could just make it even worse. Anyway, that's the very earliest pans, and now we're on to the numbered series. So these are the books that people are much more familiar with. They've got the familiar pan logo. This was the very, very first pan book, 10 Stories by Rudyard Kipling, author of the Jungle Book. And these were the numbered series. I think they get up to 434 of them, and I've got every single one. Now this one looks in great shape, but once again, I don't know about the top edges. It's one I've had for a long, long time. But yeah, I can't see any markings or anything inside. But that's what we're going to be doing now. And what we'll be able to do is maybe do 5 at a time and clean the edges with a slightly bigger brush as well. So let's make a start on those. Okay, so I've just reset the camera ever so slightly, giving me a little bit more room to work. Now, looking at this early one, it's a little bit deceptive, but these early pans do not have glossy covers like a more recent book. So I can't just go around spraying polish on them and polishing them up. It would just wreck the books. So I do have to be very, very careful. So all I'm really going to do is go through each book, see if there's any pencil or folded over pages, anything like that, which this one hasn't got. And then I'm just going to put it to one side till I've got 4 or 5 of them. And then I'm going to clean the top edges and get any dust off. So here's number 2, and the process should speed up a little bit now, unless a book needs me to stop and actually do some work on it. So number 2 here, I've actually got a couple of covers because if they're in nice condition, I quite like to pick up variations on the jackets. So that was the original one, and this is one which Pam published a year or two later. And when you collect publishers, so I collect all Pam books up to about 1970, from when they started. Like I collect all Penguin books from 1935 to 1970. You do end up with some quite obscure stuff, that I can tell you. So I'm going to stop there because the next book is Pam book number 4, which I'm not going to show on the channel at all. And the reason why is because it's got the controversial title, and you only need to look it up. I'm going to take my other brush now. And Then There Were None is a renamed classic Agatha Christie, which was actually Pam book number 4. So I'm going to clean that one off the camera so I don't wish to offend anyone. And I think doing it with this sort of brush is actually a better way of doing it when you've got a few that are all level and the same size and shape. I think that's the way to do it, rather than my little toothbrush. And I will do the bottom edges as well while we're here. There we are. Okay, so I'll pop them over there, and I'm going to do a small edit now, and then I'll be back once I've done number 4. So back onto the paperbacks now, in number 5 here. Haven's End, a little bit darkened, but it's okay. There's sort of markings in that one. It's just going to be dust and dirt on the top edges with a lot of these. And some of these I got fairly recently. I did pick up a big Pam collection a couple of years back now. And I was able to go through and do a lot of comparing of copies and things like that. And other copies I've literally had for decades. So they've never really been cleaned ever since I've had them. But they are going to be a bit of a variation. Some of my publishers are in quite a state. So they're going to take a lot more work, but it's something I'm very much up for doing and sharing with you. And I do find the whole process actually really relaxing. So, Alright then, so these just need a wipe across top. You see the foxing and stuff? I'm never going to get rid of that, but I will get rid of any dust along the top here. Just squeezing the books together. Probably a good way to do it with this light shoe brush here when you're doing several books at once, rather than doing it with my toothbrush. But for hardbacks, definitely the toothbrush is the way to go. Number 10 here. So I've got this blue board here because this is one which is actually quite worn already, where I've done many repairs in the past, and it's got lots of stains and marks and stuff like that on, but it doesn't matter because it's only a bit of cardboard and it's better than marking the table. This one's got a price, it's got a name inside rather, whatever that says, Richard. You do often find previous owners' names in books, and I suppose when I was, 8 to 10, I probably put my name in books. But it's not something I would ever do now. But back in the day, like particularly hardbacks, they were really expensive, so people would put their ex-libris stickers inside their books. And I've got a few books in my collection which have come from like named libraries, big bibliophiles. Dennis Wheatley used to do that with his. He had a huge library and he had a lot of his books bound up ornately George Mcdonald Fraser was another one, a big book collector. That's the author of Flashman. And his books have all got a nice little ex-libris sticker in. So that's that one there. This one's a bit bigger. So generally speaking, if it's an early book and it's bigger, they tend not to turn up in such great condition unless you're lucky enough to find them that they've been unread. I'm not usually that lucky. Got a couple of marks on the edges here, but nothing too dramatic, and no marks inside. It's early Graeme Green. This is the first paperback edition of this one. Quite like Graeme Green as an author. He's one who's grown on me as I've got older. 1948, this one. He had a bit of a falling out with Penguin because they spelt his name wrong, if you can believe it. They spelt Green, but they didn't put the E on the end. And that little mistake cost Penguin quite a bit for a while. Now this one, 39 Steps, is one that I would consider upgrading because it's not the greatest condition. It's quite thin, this little book. So this is one that would be on my list of ones to upgrade, definitely. But that's another 5. So once again, none of these are really needed that much work, which is good. Oh, look at the dust come off. And that was the bottoms as well. Amazing. So let's get the top edges. I think they'll probably be equally as bad. Oh, another big cloud. A copy of 39 Steps is not great. That's definitely one to make a note of as an upgrade. Now, while I've been doing this, I've noticed that this copy of number 10, Fire Over England, the top of the spine there has come away slightly. You see that? So that needs a bit of glue in there. So that does give me the excuse to get out my gluing set. Now, when I'm gluing paperbacks, I really don't use anything fancy. Mr. Pritt Stick, because it's this sort of gooey consistency, and I just use this tiny little micro screwdriver with a flat head on. So all I intend to do with this one, which has got that tear at the top of the spine, is just to put a slither of Pritt Stick underneath there and push it down, and that will just stop it getting any worse. And that's exactly the sort of thing I want to be doing on my book collection when I go through these books with you. So I've just got that little slither of Pritt Stick on there, slide it under there, and because it's sort of workable and pliable, I can just sort of pop it right to the edges there, like so. And if I push it through, if I put too much on, it'll splodge out the end, but that's okay because you can just wipe it off with your finger. There we are, look, and that's stopped that little tear getting any worse now. So good that we've had a chance to glue something, because as I said, on the whole, my pans aren't too bad, but I'm going through the collection systematically, and I've got a lot of pans and I've got a lot of penguins to get through, literally thousands. So I'll be doing a pan and penguin video every single month without fail. So let's put that second pile over there and pop these back a little bit. I'm still amazed at how much dirt and dust and that I've got off these. So number 15, let's do another 5. Not so supple, this one. It's all right. It's a complete copy. It's just not in the greatest of shape. Yeah, the back little page. So I don't like it when pages are turned over. Sometimes people do it deliberately to hold a space in a book rather than use a bookmark. Other people, it's just, how the book's maybe been banged and things like that. So I try and, if I come across it, I try and bend them back the right way or fold them back the right way. Yeah, that one's okay. And you will see some absolutely classic books as we work our way through these. There'll be a few that'll be missing because they're separate. So I've got on my Pan collection, my James Bond, Ian Fleming books are all separate. They've got their own shelf, and I collect the Pan first editions, the movie editions. I've got some of the reprint jackets as well. So I'll do those like as a separate video of like the James Bond paperbacks. Probably quite topical to do them today, to be honest, but I have got on my other channel some James Bond videos, which, if you're interested in seeing all the Pan first editions. There's another jump button, but that's okay. Let's do one more. Number 19. And generally these are actually really nice copies. I've had so many through my hands over the years, got there's little bits of dust flying off the top, that I've been able to upgrade multiple times, sometimes on the same books. So they're all okay. They just need the edges cleaning. I think once again this top edge is going to be, look how dark that is in comparison. Loads. Plumes of dust coming off. I hope it can be picked up by the camera. Right. Once again, I was looking at the top edges of these, and that one there looks like it could use a little bit of gluing. Number 16 there, so let's just dig that one out a moment. That's my screwdriver. Look at that. So you see it's come away a bit from the top of the spine. So that could use another slither of gluing as well, just like the other one. So exactly the same technique. I just grab a little bit like this. Enough to slide it in there. Tease it in, hopefully, there we are. Spread it out a little bit underneath. Should be enough. And just squash him down, like so. There we are. Just stops it getting caught and getting any worse, of course. Okay. Put stick out of the way. Number 20. And you'll see the cover style of these change dramatically as we go through and get more and more adventurous. And I think their covers get, well, they're some of the best in the business in the 50s and 60s. Favourite of mine here. Basically this was an early Pan book of horror stories, although not part of that series, but it was like they were doing a little tester, wasn't it, with sort of stories with a twist, as it were. And this one's a bit worn, isn't it? That's like a bit of the spine coming away there, so that's going to need gluing down. It's quite a dirty old copy, this one. So this is another one which, compared to the others, should be on my list of books to upgrade. Yes, it's in a terrible old state. It's probably quite scarce, this, so it's an early Pan horror, early Pan crime rather. So anyway, beggars can't be choosers. It's a copy at least, but I definitely need to get the glue into that bottom bit of the spine there. So I'm going to use the same technique, but we're going to need a lot more than we've done previously. So let's slide that in there. And this is just the sort of thing I was looking for to do on these videos, because I knew I'd never been through all the books properly and given them all really good treatment. And that's exactly what I intend to do over these videos. And of course, it's another chance to go through my Pan book collection, which I love looking at. I absolutely love it. I have sort of systematically filmed the books over the last sort of 2 years on my other channel, but since then I've filled in lots of gaps. I've had that big collection come in, and it's almost like I could go back and start again, but I'd much rather do it this way and clean the books at the same time. So as you can see, I pulled that little bit out of the way. I've made a real mushy, pretty sticky mess in there, but that's absolutely fine. That's exactly what I wanted to do, because now I can just push all the bits together like this and then push that bit of spine down, and it should look a lot better and it will stay in place. There we are. There's a little bit of seepage on there, but I've just got it with my thumb and forefinger and it just comes away like that. Now that I've got it down, you can sort of see that this piece here is raised ever so slightly. So I think I'm going to get another tiny bit of glue and pop it into there. And in fact, there's a little bit of glue left on the end of my screwdriver here. So I'm just going to see if that gets it. Just need a little bit teased into there. Doesn't matter that I've got a bit over the top because it will wipe off in a sec. Well, I'm hoping that'll be enough. Let's just give it a try. Yeah. There you go. And that should stop it getting any worse. Goodbye to murder. Now, the next book actually comes in a dust wrapper, so I'm going to clean the top edges of these first before we get to that next one. Okay. Yeah, so for a while, in the first 100 or so titles, there's maybe 7 or 8 that came with very thin dust wrappers again. Sometimes they put the dust wrappers on because the books weren't selling. Other times they just put them on just to try a different sort of cover. In this particular case, it was the bright pink colour, and Pam were moving towards making the list very dark with black covers, and they went through that period, which we'll see a bit later on. This one's actually got a semi glossy front cover, and this is the variances in the printing is just where they were printed abroad more than anything. But apart from that, in actual fact, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it at all, and the dust wrapper has done its job, and it saved the book from getting its usual sort of wear and tear that it would have received over its 70-year plus life. So that's good news. Bit of a tight dust wrapper, so I want to make sure I don't damage it. There we go. Yeah, that's all right. That's what I should have done before I put the dust wrapper down. Just give this one a clean on the top. But I do it with the toothbrush, really nice and delicate. Got a bit of spotting on the top edge there, but beyond taking some sandpaper to take the top layer off, which I don't really want to do because it looks unnatural. This is, I think, a better way of just actually cleaning the book without doing any damage. There we are. Lovely. Staying with relations. So what we've gone through today, we're over halfway now. I'm going to see if I can zoom through to the end, depending on how much work needs doing on these. Oh, that's a nice one, isn't it? And then we'll be done for this first video. So I am very much entertaining your feedback. So I'd like you to tell me how you'd like to see these sorts of videos going forward. This is another one in a dust wrapper. So yeah, let's just clean those other two then. So if you like the format that I've got here, where I'm going through the collection systematically, and me talking, giving you a little bit of history about the books as well, which I hope you find interesting. If you'd prefer these to be completely silent and just have the sounds of the cleaning, once again, let me know. I think I prefer to talk to you while I do this, because else it's a very solitary old video, isn't it, you know? This one's got a wrapper in, so I'm going to take it out to clean the book properly. Very, very delicate, these wrappers, and I will go back and I'm going to cover some of these with some wrap. But underneath, how's the book looking? Yep, that's fine, really. It just needs the toothbrush on it. Very dusty there. So yeah, do please, I'm looking forward to the feedback. Do please hit the subscribe button, it's really going to help. I'm going to do a regular video every Saturday, and believe it or not, I've got the first year's worth, first 50 videos already planned. So it's going to be one brand new video a week. And then I'm going to take a video from my other channel, which was a good cleaning video, and I've re-edited it, taken out the bells, the whistles, the promotions and things like that, to make it a much more relaxing experience, just watching me clean whatever I'm cleaning that week. It could be books, it could be some figures or toys or whatever. Alright, so every single week you will have something new, and brand new videos at least every other week going forward. So do please do me a favour, help me get to 1,000 subscribers, which is always my target. And I will, as I said, I've got the entire next year already planned for you. Just need a little bit of encouragement to show me that you're enjoying what you're seeing. So do please leave comments down below. And the greatest favour you can do me is if you wouldn't mind sharing the channel onto Reddit groups, because that would be really, really great. And this dust wrapper doesn't really want to sit down as flush as I would like. It's a little bit bigger than the dimensions of the book, but it's okay. Right, before we do number 28, I think we'll just pause there and we'll thank my Patreon and channel membership subscribers. There we are. So my patrons support me on my other channel and my channel membership. So if you want to give this channel some love and show your support, just you can head on to my Patreon at patreon.com JulesBurt, or what's another? You can go and join my other channel if you want to do it through YouTube. Over on my other channel, I do tend to do a bit more of a variety of stuff. I do lots of book stuff and book reviews, but I do cover the odd bit of toys and vintage Star Wars and vintage Simpsons. And, well, Well, all sorts really. I do lots of retro gaming as well. Because I like old games and I like emulating old games on my phone. So if that's something which interests you, head on over and have a look. I do a monthly pickups video over there of all the old books that I've picked up, and I give them a clean as well. So you won't find those pickup videos on this channel. They're not going to come over. So if you want those, I do at least one a month, and they are all in their own playlist. And that's much more of a variety of stuff that I picked up throughout the month. There we are, that's cool. I'm having to stop and do these individually, these ones in a wrapper, because there's no real way else to do them any other way. So the next original video that you'll see in order will be me doing the first 80 or so vintage Penguin books. But there will be a Pan and a Penguin one every single month, and I'll slowly work my way through the rest of my book collection. And there will be some publishers, like, I don't know, Digit Books, for example, that'll be done in just a couple of parts, and I'll do the whole publisher in that time. Others, like Pan and Penguin, are going to take a bit longer. Right, another one here, Burmese silver, very dirty top, but we'll have a look here. Yes, quite a bit of dust flew off that one. Pretty nice copy of that in that dark dust wrapper. It's probably quite scarce in that condition, you know. These Pan dust wrappers, there's nothing to them. They're toilet paper, they're so thin. Must be why they're quite tough to find these days. If a book came in a wrapper, to find it still in its wrapper. Yeah. I'm going to turn over that little corner there. There we are. There we are. So that's sort of kept itself in quite nice condition. So just a couple more, and then we'll be ready to do the last batch. Okay then. So I've got the final little batch of pans that we're going to clean up today. And on the whole, apart from a few little things, they've not been too bad, to be honest. So I'm quite pleased. We've not had masses of work to do, although I know you've tuned in to see them being cleaned up, but believe me, there's still many books to go through, thousands and thousands, so don't think I'm going to ever run out of them. It's going to take me months, if not years, to go through them all. And I've just done those two on their own, because once again, next book is it's in a wrapper here, so I'll slide that one out before I give it a clean. Another one with a glossy cover. It's 1948, this one dates from. Wrapper's held up all right on that one. It's quite nice, isn't it? The black and the green. Okay. That looks all right. And you may notice, like here, we've gone for number 36, and the next number is number 39. It's because Pan didn't release a book for every single number. There was a few that got skipped over. It was probably titles that they were going to publish and they just got abandoned halfway through, or they never made it to print. And Penguin didn't really miss many numbers, but they did make a few mistakes, and there are some things which were never issued. But with Pan, rather than go back and use up a number which never got used initially, they just skipped over and carried on. So thankfully everything has been well documented. So this is a scarce one, but I've only got the back of the dust wrapper. I haven't got the front part, sadly. It's a scarce one for sure. Once again, it's a Pan crime title, and it's a bit dusty as well. It's a Pan crime title, and those, like the Penguin crime titles of this period, they're highly sought after. But I just take that bit of dust wrapper off while I give it a clean. Like so. And then I'll put, because it's the back bit, I'll just slide it on like that. There we are. So I'm keeping it all together, but it's not exactly perfect. But it'll do until I find a nice one with a wrapper on, intact. Here's just a later reprinting of that early one, so because it's got such a different cover, I've kept it not particularly great shape, to be honest, but it's okay. Apart from it being a bit grubby, it's all right. I'm gonna save that because I can do a few at once. So yeah, if you are just discovering my book repair videos and cleaning videos for the first time, so there is quite a bit more on my other channel, but this is something a little bit different. This is just going to be sort of repairing and cleaning videos, and I'm not going to be covering anything else over here. I'll save that for my other one. So you're going to have a very good idea of what's what and what to expect. Okay, so the next one's got a wrapper on, so let's give these bad boys a clean. Obviously the bottoms aren't too bad compared to the top. It's funny, some of these have been far worse than others, haven't they? Loads of debris coming off. Right, this is another delicate one with a dust wrapper. So we just slip this one out as well. Underneath, the dust wrapper's done its job, look at that. And protected the book really well. See the dust come off there. God, loads of it. I reckon I've had this one a long time. Yeah, that was incredible. Absolutely stacks of dust. I can almost taste it in the air. It's really rough. Not the greatest of dust jackets. Got a bit of tape inside, but happy to own it in a wrapper. There we are, that's not too bad at all. So the final little batch coming in now. Now this one, Najee Marsh, it's not in the greatest shape. It's got a bit of writing on the front cover there, which is a bit of a shame, but I think it'll be okay until I get a better one. Now this one has got a tiny bit of gluing required in a moment. Let's see if there's anything else needing on this one. No. So I think I'm going to pop a little bit of glue just in that bottom edge there. It won't take a moment. Got my Mr. Pritt here. It's just a tiny bit really. Is all that's needed. Let's work that into that little gap there. Okay. Now, the covers are actually two-ply. They're basically two bits of paper put together to form the cover. One's got the cover image and then there's like a plain one underneath. And now that I've glued the first bit down, the actual bit with the cover on is also needing to glue down. So it's like a double whammy. So I'm going to lift that bit up there, you see, just like that. And now that bit just needs a tiny bit of glue in as well. So I'm gluing down literally each little layer. Like so. I think I've got enough glue in there, to be honest, so there we are. Just enough to keep it in place. Yeah, there we are, let's sort that out. Here's a later edition of that one. It's just a reprint of the same book, but with that's a more typical Pan cover. That people might be more familiar with. As I said, we are looking at the very earliest Pan books. $47 here, Random Harvest. Yep, so they're all okay. They're ready for the brushing. Now I've started brushing these, I can see another bit of spine that needs gluing down. And there I was thinking we were virtually done for today, and we're not really. Lots of dust coming off the top of those four. Wow. Blimey. Yeah, so where I saw a bit more glue was required was on this one here. Just in there, look at that. So, easily remedied. Clean off the edge of my screwdriver here. This is a bit horrible. So we got a nice, it's a bit cleaner now. And we just scrape a bit. I'm going to need a fair bit into that bit of the spine because there's a fair bit to glue down, isn't there? We'll slide it on in. She was never my favourite crime author. That is Agatha Christie. However, she definitely has her fans. There we are. Okay, that was an easy fix. So there's only about 10 more to go for this episode, but we've got one more. I think this is the last one in a dust wrapper. Yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed watching me clean these books. As I said, I do find it super relaxing. I don't know why. It just it's very, very satisfying to see the books, knowing them on your shelf, knowing that they've been cleaned as best as I possibly can anyway, and repaired. And then when you pick a book up, if it's one that you fancy reading for whatever reason, you know you're not going to be picking up something which has got a horrible 10p inside, or it's all dusty and dirty. The problem is, when you're a vintage paperback collector, you have to think back to the time when these books were around. Even more so when you start looking at the Penguins from the 1930s, because, to be honest, right up until I can remember friends who had coal fires in the 90s, and but they were much more popular back in the day, before electric fires and central heating. And books would get the soot. If you had a traditional coal fire, the soot would get around into the atmosphere, and if you had a bookcase, all the books would go brown on the spines, and the tops would get damaged, and the soot would be in the air, and it would basically sit along the top of your books, and that is how. And the spines would go very dark, and that is a lot of what we're cleaning off on these. It harks back to that period. It's as simple as that. Here's Palm Books number 50. Now look at that. That is an annoying sticker mark there. Okay. Nothing we can't handle. So I'll clean these next 5, and then we'll have a look at doing that sticker. And I've started to go with their very black covers now. I did this for a little while. I don't like them myself. I prefer the colourful jackets like these ones here. That's what appeals to me. But I think maybe they were looking for a particular identity, a bit like Penguin had an identity. That's the only thing I can really think of. Right, those are okay. So let's clean off the top edges and bottom edges. Lovely, they look really much better, much better. So yeah, it was this one here, pan number 50. So it's got that. That would have been an official 2 shilling one there. So I think what we'll do, we've got quite a good chance of this coming up really clean, because as you can see, the cover is glossy, and not all the pans are like that, but this one is. So I reckon using my fingernail I can get quite a bit of that off, and then whatever's left, I reckon I can tackle it with some polish. So we've not done any sticker removal today, so one thing I do try and do is keep a decent thumbnail. Now, in actual fact, this sticker, I can already tell, is going to be super stubborn straight off the bat. So let's get some polish on it, because this will soften it up. Oh, I wish we'd found this one a bit sooner, because it's a bit of a time consumer, but it's okay because we've not done one today. So all I've done there, I've dabbed using my soft cloth polish into it, which I'm hoping will be enough to soften up the glue so I can start peeling it back. It seems to be coming off. As long as I'm not getting into the actual book, I'll be okay. So it does seem to be scraping off. Being quite gentle with it. So we got some of it off initially. So I'm going to put a little bit more. I'm actually going to spray it onto the book. And we're just going to leave that over there a moment while I do these last few. So we've got a nice Agatha Christie here. See if that needs any work. Now it's got a slight detachment of the spine there, but nothing too much. I don't think I'm going to tinker with that one. I think that's probably all right to leave as is. Another one here, the moving finger. Also quite a nice tight copy. I've had multiple copies of a lot of the Agatha Christie's through my hands, so I've got fairly nice copies of most of them. It's all right. Poor Caroline. Yep, that's all right. This very last one here from this particular, I bought down a full box load basically of these vintage pants. So this is box number 1 of many. That's okay as well. So I think while that's still soaking over there, I'm going to give these the dust off. Lovely. Right, we're back to Sticker McGee now. There we are, so a bit of close-up work here. So that's had about 2-3 minutes to soak in. So just dabbed up the excess with my thing in the hope that my fingernail will just get the rest of it off. So it has left a bit of a stain, but that will dry out in time. Yeah, the last few bits of paper and glue are coming off now. Well, it's not a success, I have to say. The glue is not coming off anything like as well as I would like, and it's actually left a bit of a stain on the book, so I'm a bit disappointed with that. And I've made a little scratch on it, which I'm also annoyed about. So that is a shame. I'm going to need to let it completely dry out now. And then just see if I can get this last bit of sticker off. It's drying out all the time, but how stubborn can you get? I thought with such a nice glossy cover we'd be good there, you know. It would come off really, really easily. But it's not. It's actually just proved incredibly stubborn. I just don't want to do any more damage to it, really. I mean, it's better than what was there. That's for certain. But it's just that did not do what I thought it was going to do. I thought that would come off much easier than it did, and it hasn't. There's still lots of, you can still see loads of it there, but you know, as you dig it off, it's taking off bits of the cover, which I just don't want to do. So I think I'm better off just letting that dry, which it will do over the next sort of 10 minutes, and leave it at that, because apart from that, it's a really nice copy of that book, so I don't really want to make it any worse. But that's a shame, because it would have only been a little two shilling sticker around all on that, but someone decided to take it off historically, and it's caused that issue. That's a shame. So there you are. I don't think it's too bad. It's just not as good as I would perhaps like, but certainly not the end of the world. So let's just round these last few books up together. There we are. So there we are. That was the first of a brand new series to launch the channel. I do hope you've enjoyed it. It's certainly been quite interesting. We've seen quite a few books, and you've seen quite a lot of the techniques I use to clean my books up. So as I said, new video, one of these every single week, and I've got the next year planned, so there's plenty to look forward to, all sorts of stuff to be thrown into the mix as well. And yeah, do please share these videos onto the appropriate unintentional ASMR Reddit groups. That's going to make such a huge difference. I don't want to be going on there and promoting my own videos. It's against the rules of the groups anyway, and I would hope that what you find here is enough to make you want to share the content out amongst your friends. Thanks very much for watching today. I really do appreciate it, and hope to see you again very soon. Bye.